The Zyraxian ship appeared over New Singapore on a quiet Tuesday morning in 2157, its crystalline hull refracting sunlight in impossible patterns across the city's skyline. Humanity had been preparing for first contact for decades, but nothing could have truly prepared them for the reality of meeting an advanced alien civilization. The Zyraxians emerged from their vessel like liquid mercury given form, their bodies shifting and flowing with an otherworldly grace. Ambassador Kexri, their lead diplomat, spoke through a neural interface that translated their thoughts directly into human languages. Their first words set the tone for everything that followed. "We have come to guide your species into the galactic community. Your potential is quaint." Admiral James Rodriguez, the human representative chosen for first contact, maintained his composure despite the subtle condescension. At 73, he'd spent his entire career preparing Earth's defenses for potential alien threats. Now, facing actual aliens, he found himself giving them a tour of the United Earth Military Museum in New Singapore, a gesture of transparency and goodwill. The tour proceeded smoothly until they reached the historical weapons hall. Ambassador Kexri paused before a pristine M1 Garand rifle, preserved behind quantum-sealed glass. The rifle had seen action in humanity's bloodiest conflict, World War II, and stood as a testament to human ingenuity in the face of adversity. How peculiar, Kexri's neural translator conveyed, their mercury-like form rippling with what humans would later learn was amusement. You preserve implements of primitive violence as if they hold value. Our civilization outgrew such crude tools before we learned to harness stellar energy. Rodriguez felt his jaw tighten. This rifle helped defend freedom across Earth. It represents more than just technology. It represents human courage, innovation, and determination. The Zyraxian delegation exchanged shimmering patterns that their neural translators didn't bother to decode, their equivalent of dismissive laughter. Courage and determination do not compensate for technological inadequacy, Kexri responded. Your most advanced weapons are children's toys compared to Zyraxian defense systems. We can disintegrate matter at the quantum level. These projectile weapons would not even scratch our most basic personal shields. The exchange was broadcast globally, and while diplomatic niceties were maintained, the damage was done. Humanity's first contact with an advanced civilization had quickly devolved into a demonstration of their technological inadequacy. In the weeks that followed, the Zyraxians established an embassy in orbit, sharing carefully selected technological insights while maintaining their air of superiority. They introduced humans to the basics of quantum shield technology, faster-than-light travel theory, and neural interface systems, all while treating Earth's scientists like gifted children being taught their first equations. Dr. Sarah Chen watched the recordings of that first museum tour countless times in her lab at the United Earth Defense Research Division. As the lead weapons engineer for humanity's quantum integration project, she saw something the Zyraxians had missed: potential. Where they saw primitive technology, she saw fundamental principles that had stood the test of time. Where they saw obsolescence, she saw opportunity. Late one night, as she studied the M1 Garand specifications for the 100th time, she noticed something that would change everything. The basic principles of kinetic energy transfer used in these ancient weapons operated on a quantum level in ways the Zyraxians had never considered. Their technology had evolved along a completely different path, making them blind to certain possibilities. Chen began formulating a theory that would combine the brute force efficiency of ballistic weapons with quantum manipulation technology. If she was right, the result would be something entirely new. A weapon that could bypass Zyraxian shields by operating on principles their defense systems weren't designed to counter. But first, she would need to convince the United Earth Council to fund her project, and she would need to do it without alerting their Zyraxian advisors to her true intentions. As she prepared her presentation, Chen couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humanity's future might depend on successfully weaponizing its past. The Zyraxians had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated human ingenuity. And like many before them who had dismissed human potential, they would soon learn that mockery was often the precursor to respect. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her hands steady despite the stakes of her presentation. The council chamber, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, hummed with the soft whir of quantum encryption fields designed to prevent Xeraxian surveillance. Distinguished council members, Chen began, activating the holographic display. What you're about to see is classified as Project Inheritance. The display showed the internal mechanics of the M1 Garand, then smoothly transitioned to complex quantum equations. We've been approaching our technological advancement from the wrong angle. We've been trying to catch up to Xeraxian technology instead of innovating on our own terms. General Maria Santos, the head of the council, leaned forward. Explain, Dr. Chen. How does an obsolete rifle help us advance beyond Xeraxian technology? Because, General, the Xeraxians have a blind spot. Chen manipulated the hologram, showing the interaction between traditional ballistic physics and quantum fields. Their entire defensive technology is built around energy dissipation and matter manipulation at the quantum level. But they've never encountered a weapon that combines physical kinetic impact with quantum disruption. The room fell silent as Chen's simulations played out. Her theory suggested that a projectile, enhanced by quantum fields but still maintaining its physical form, could potentially bypass Xeraxian shields. Their defenses were designed to handle either pure energy weapons or physical projectiles, but not both simultaneously. The beauty of this approach, Chen continued, is that it builds on principles we already understand. We're not trying to replicate Xeraxian technology. We're creating something entirely new by combining our historical knowledge with current innovations. Dr. Marcus Wong, the Council's chief scientist, shook his head. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical. And even if we could power such a weapon, testing it would alert the Xeraxians immediately. Chen smiled. That's why we won't need to test it at full power until it's ready. I've designed a modular testing protocol that will appear to be standard quantum research. The Xeraxians are so convinced of their superiority that they don't bother monitoring our ballistics research. They consider it beneath their notice. The council deliberated for hours. The risks were enormous. If the Xeraxians discovered the true nature of the project, it could damage the already delicate diplomatic relations. But the potential benefits were too significant to ignore. Finally, General Santos made the decision. Project Inheritance is approved, Dr. Chen. You'll have whatever resources you need, but this project doesn't exist on any official record. Choose your team carefully. Chen's team came together over the next few weeks. Dr. Raj Patel, a quantum physicist whose theories on field manipulation had been dismissed by the Xeraxians as charmingly primitive. Lieutenant Hannah Murphy, a ballistics expert who'd spent years studying historical weapons development. Dr. Victor Rossi, a materials scientist who'd been secretly developing hybrid metals capable of withstanding quantum enhancement. They established their lab in an abandoned mining complex in the Australian outback. The location was perfect, remote enough to avoid attention, but connected to the quantum network for necessary communications and research. The Xeraxians had dismissed Australia's vast interior as uninhabitably primitive, making it ideal for classified research. As Chen watched her team set up their equipment, she felt a surge of pride. Each person here represented the best of humanity, not just in their scientific expertise, but in their unwavering determination to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The first phase of their research focused on understanding the quantum properties of kinetic energy transfer. Traditional bullets relied on simple physics, mass times velocity equals impact force. But by introducing quantum fields during the firing process, they could theoretically create projectiles that existed in multiple states simultaneously. The trick, Chen explained to her team during their first full briefing, isn't to make a better bullet or a more powerful energy weapon. It's to create something that's both and neither at the same time. Something that operates outside the Xeraxians' understanding of weapons technology. Late one night, as Chen reviewed their initial test results, she received an encrypted message from General Santos. The Xeraxians had announced plans for a grand military exhibition in 6 months, where various species would demonstrate their defensive capabilities. It was meant to be a showcase of Xeraxian superiority, but Chen saw it for what it really was, an opportunity. 6 months, she whispered to herself, looking at the prototype laying on her workbench. The basic frame of an M1 Garand, gutted and reimagined with technology that bridged centuries of human innovation. 6 months to change everything. As she worked through the night, Chen thought about that first meeting at the museum, about the Xeraxians' dismissive attitude toward human achievement. Soon they would learn what the greatest minds in human history had learned, that mockery often plants the seeds of its own destruction. 4 months into Project Inheritance, disaster struck. The quantum containment field collapsed during a routine test, vaporizing 3 weeks of work and nearly taking Dr. Raj Patel's arm with it. In the aftermath, as emergency systems cleared the ionized air from the lab, Chen found him staring at the twisted remains of their prototype. The Xeraxians were right, Patel said, his voice hollow. We're trying to combine technologies that were never meant to coexist. Maybe we should accept our place in their hierarchy. Chen pulled up a chair beside him, wincing at the smell of ozone and burnt metal. Look at this, she said, pointing to the partially melted barrel. Where the quantum field had collapsed, the hybrid metal had crystallized in an impossible pattern. The field didn't fail, Raj, it evolved. We've been trying to control quantum states when we should have been letting them find their natural balance. This revelation changed everything. Instead of forcing quantum fields to conform to traditional ballistic parameters, they began designing a weapon that could adapt its quantum state during firing. Lieutenant Murphy's expertise with historical weapons proved invaluable as they reconstructed the firing mechanism. The original M1 Garand had a specific rhythm to it, Murphy explained, field stripping their new prototype. The way the bolt moved, the ejection of the clip, it wasn't just mechanical efficiency. It was practically musical. What if we use that rhythm to stabilize the quantum field? Dr. Rossi's hybrid metals were recalibrated to resonate at specific frequencies. Each shot would create a harmonic wave that strengthened the quantum field instead of fighting against it. The breakthrough came at a cost. They could only produce small amounts of the specialized metal, and each piece had to be precisely tuned. As word of their progress spread through secure channels, other departments began quietly contributing resources. Quantum computing specialists sent upgraded processing cores. The Advanced Materials Lab misplaced a shipment of rare earth elements. Even the historical archives provided detailed records of every major small arms advancement in human history. The Xeraxian observers remained oblivious, their attention focused on grander projects. When they deigned to visit Earth's research facilities, they saw exactly what they expected: a primitive species struggling to grasp basic quantum principles. Their contempt had become humanity's greatest advantage. 3 weeks before the exhibition, Chen's team conducted their first full power test in an abandoned mineshaft. The weapon, now barely recognizable as a descendant of the M1 Garand, hummed with contained energy. The test target was protected by a scaled-down version of a Xeraxian shield, acquired through means best left unmentioned. Remember, Chen told her team as they gathered in the control room, whatever happens today, we've already proven that humanity can innovate on its own terms. Murphy, now the designated weapons operator due to her military background, took position behind the reinforced firing barrier. The weapon powered up with a sound like distant thunder, quantum fields shimmering along its length. Time seemed to slow as her finger tightened on the trigger. The shot itself was anticlimactic. No massive explosion, no blinding flash. Just a quiet thump, followed by absolute silence. When the dust settled, the target hadn't just been penetrated. The Xeraxian shield had collapsed completely, its quantum matrix unraveled by the hybrid projectile. "Holy shit," Patel whispered, staring at the readings. The quantum field didn't just bypass their shields. It used their own defensive energy to amplify the impact. The more powerful their shields, the more vulnerable they'll be to this weapon. Chen allowed herself a small smile as she studied the test results. They had created something unprecedented, a weapon that turned an enemy's strength against them. But more importantly, they had proven that humanity's primitive understanding of physics could unlock secrets that had eluded even the Ziraxians. The next 3 weeks were a blur of refinements and carefully documented tests. Each success was tempered by the knowledge that they would only get one chance to demonstrate their achievement. The Ziraxians had arranged for the exhibition to take place on their massive station in Earth's orbit, where representatives from dozens of advanced civilizations would gather to observe. The night before the exhibition, Chen found Murphy in the lab, running final checks on their creation. The weapon now looked like a piece of art. Sleek lines of hybrid metal flowing into quantum-focusing arrays, the stock inscribed with equations that bridged centuries of human innovation. Having doubts, Chen asked, noting the concern on Murphy's face. "Not about the weapon," Murphy replied, her fingers tracing the inscription. "But tomorrow we're not just demonstrating technology. We're challenging their entire worldview." People don't usually respond well to having their superiority questioned. Chen nodded, remembering the Ziraxians' laughter in the museum. "Maybe not, but they're going to have to learn what every civilization that underestimated humanity has learned. Mockery has a way of coming full circle." As they secured the lab for the night, Chen's quantum pad chimed with a message from General Santos. "Transport arranged for 600. Good hunting." Tomorrow, humanity would either earn its place among the stars or confirm the Ziraxians' dismissive assessment. There would be no middle ground. The Ziraxian orbital station hung above Earth like a crystalline spider web, its transparent corridors filled with representatives from 24 advanced civilizations. Dr. Sarah Chen and Lieutenant Hannah Murphy stood in the preparation chamber, their hybrid weapon drawing curious glances and dismissive smirks from passing aliens. Ambassador Kexri's liquid metal form rippled with amusement as they approached. "Dr. Chen, I must commend your species' persistence, though I wonder why you chose to modify such an antiquated design. Our archives suggest your firearms were obsolete even by your own standards centuries ago." "Sometimes the old ways have merit," Chen replied diplomatically, noting how the ambassador's form rippled with what she now recognized as condescending laughter. "We look forward to the demonstration." The exhibition hall was a massive zero-gravity chamber, its walls lined with quantum-reactive surfaces that could generate any testing environment. The Ziraxians had already showcased their latest defensive technologies. Shields that could theoretically withstand the energy output of a small star, personal barriers that made their users virtually invincible. Other species presented their achievements to polite appreciation, though it was clear none could match Ziraxian technology. The Arcturians demonstrated matter phase weapons, the Vega Collective showed off their plasma lance technology, and the Sirius Republic displayed their gravity manipulation devices. Each presentation reinforced the hierarchy of galactic civilization, with the Ziraxians firmly at the top. Finally, it was humanity's turn. Murphy stepped into the demonstration zone, the hybrid weapon humming softly in her hands. The chamber's gravity normalized to Earth standard as she took her position. Chen stood at the control console, preparing to activate their testing protocols. "For our demonstration," Chen announced to the gathered audience, "we'll be testing our weapon against standard Ziraxian shield technology. Ambassador Kexri has graciously provided a series of increasingly powerful defensive barriers." The ambassador's form rippled with what might have been pride or amusement. "We thought it fitting to show the full spectrum of our defensive capabilities. Though I fear your weapon, impressive as it may look, will struggle with even our most basic shields." Chen nodded to Murphy, who raised the weapon. The first target materialized, a simple drone protected by a standard Ziraxian personal shield. The weapon powered up, quantum fields harmonizing with the modified barrel in a way that made several alien scientists lean forward in their seats. Murphy exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger. The shot was almost silent, just a soft thump followed by a musical tone as the quantum fields engage. The projectile, visible only as a distortion in space, struck the shield. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shield didn't just fail. It collapsed inward, taking the drone with it in a precise demonstration of controlled destruction. The room fell silent. An impressive feat, Kexry admitted, their form showing signs of confusion. But perhaps a fortunate accident. Shall we increase the shield's strength? The impact extended far beyond military applications. Dr. Raj Patel's team had adapted the quantum harmonics principles for medical devices, creating treatments that were more effective than anything previously available. Dr. Victor Rossi's hybrid materials were revolutionizing spaceship construction, combining the durability of traditional metals with quantum-enhanced properties. But perhaps the most significant change was in how humanity was perceived by the galactic community. The mockery had been replaced by respect, the condescension by genuine interest in collaboration. Other species began sharing their own historical technologies, leading to new breakthroughs as different approaches merged and evolved. One afternoon, as Chen prepared for a presentation at the first Galactic Innovation Summit, she found herself back in the United Earth Military Museum. The M1 Garand still sat in its display case, but now it was accompanied by a holographic history of its evolution into the quantum hybrid weapon. Visitors from across the galaxy stopped to study it, understanding at last that even the simplest tools could contain profound wisdom. Ambassador Kexry joined her there, their form reflecting the museum's lights in complex patterns. "We have established learning centers across Iraxian space," they announced, "places where our people can study historical technologies from all species. Your demonstration showed us that progress isn't just about moving forward. It's about understanding where you came from." Chen smiled, remembering the long nights of work, the failures and breakthroughs, the moment when everything changed. "The weapon was never really about proving our superiority," she said. "It was about proving that every civilization has something valuable to contribute if we're willing to look past our preconceptions." As if to emphasize her point, a group of young Ziraxian scientists entered the museum, their forms showing the excited ripples of eager students. They moved respectfully through the exhibits, asking questions about Earth's military history, genuinely interested in understanding how ancient principles could inform new discoveries. The final validation came 6 months later, when the Galactic Council announced a major reorganization. The hierarchical structure was replaced by a collaborative network, with each species recognized for their unique contributions to galactic knowledge. Earth was designated as the Center for Hybrid Technology Research, acknowledging humanity's gift for combining the old with the new. In her private moments, Chen often reflected on how it all began, with an alien laugh and a preserved rifle in a museum. The Ziraxians had meant to mock human achievement, but instead they had sparked a revolution in how the galaxy approached innovation. The ancient weapon that had once defended human freedom had evolved to secure humanity's place among the stars. But more than that, it had taught an important lesson to every civilization in the galaxy. True progress comes not from dismissing the past or mocking others, but from understanding that every piece of knowledge, no matter how primitive it might seem, contains the seeds of future innovation. As Chen watched Earth's first quantum hybrid starship prepare for its maiden voyage, its crew a mixture of humans and aliens working in harmony, she remembered Ambassador Kexry's first words: "Your potential is quaint." Now, looking at what that potential had achieved, she couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the best way to answer mockery was not with words or anger, but with innovation that changed the universe.